So for all Mac gamers, I have big news to share with you. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition has finally come to macOS. CD Projekt Red has released the game on both Steam and the App Store and many other gaming platforms. So that means if you've been waiting to explore Cyberpunk natively with your MacBook, your time has come. So what do you need to play Cyberpunk 2077 on your Mac? So first, let me put it out there very clearly that this game is Apple Silicon only. So that means M1, M2, M3 and M4 chips. And secondly, your Mac must have 16GB of unified RAM. Unfortunately, 8GB Macs aren't supported, so if you're still using a base model M1 MacBook Pro or an M1 MacBook Air, or if your Mac just has 8GB in general, you're going to be out of luck. So let's go ahead and break that down. The minimum specs should be a Mac with Apple Silicon, basically M1 or newer, 16GB of RAM, macOS Sonoma or later. And my own recommendations from the Macs I have tested this game out on, you would want to play this game on pretty much any other higher-end Apple Silicon Mac, so that would be the M2, M2 Pro, M3, M4, and with at least 16GB of RAM. Now here's the really cool part, this Mac version of Cyberpunk was built with Apple's API in mind. It runs natively on Metal, which unlocks features like Metal FX upscaling and AMD FSR, both fine-tuned for Apple Silicon. You also get head-tracked spatial audio with AirPods, and you also get dynamic high-definition range on Apple's XDR displays. And of course, you can't forget, we've also got controller support. So let's check Cyberpunk out. We've got the game installed and tested on my 16GB M1 MacBook Pro, and here are the full specs if you're interested. We'll even break down the graphics modes to see how performance is on the M1. So I mean, here we are on Steam. Let's go ahead and launch this game up. So as you just saw, it's literally exactly like how you'd usually play on Steam with a Windows computer. And here I am with my Xbox controller, which works perfectly fine with no issues whatsoever in Cyberpunk. And here's the graphics settings that we're working with. So we've got the For This Mac preset, which should be optimized for our M1 MacBook Pro. Then we've got low, medium, high, and ultra. So we're going to test out every single one of these graphics settings, and I'll let you guys know how the performance is with them. So we're going to start off with the For This Mac preset. Let's see how well optimized this preset is. And here are the other settings if you're interested. Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and continue my previous save. I didn't really get far in this game. I literally just bought it like when it was on sale on Steam. And I mean, just first impressions, like already, the game looks so good with this For This Mac preset. Now it does seem to be capped at like 30 frames per second. I've just gone ahead and put up the VSync to 60. There doesn't seem to be an option for me to show you guys how much FPS we're getting, so we'll just have to take my speech with like a grain of salt. But like even at the lowest settings, it does seem to be running at around 45 to 60 FPS just walking around in Night City right now. Now you can definitely tell there isn't much anti-aliasing in this. Like things just don't look as sharp as they're supposed to. And the textures are absolutely awful, but I mean, you gotta give this nearly 5-year-old chip some credit. This is pretty impressive. These reflections do look really nice though. And another interesting topic is HDR, yeah. So this game does support HDR with Apple XDR displays, so pretty much just any supported Apple display with HDR like this MacBook. So you'll have some nice bright visuals in this game. That's pretty much it for the For This Mac preset. I can safely say this does run around 45 to 60 FPS, depending on your location. Now let's go ahead and check out the low preset with Metal FX and see how that runs. Now with the low settings, this game seems to run at around 50 to 60 FPS. It's definitely improved in the crowded areas. This does remind me, let's go ahead and check out the temperatures of this MacBook, because this MacBook does not feel warm at all, like it's literally just cold. Okay, so it seems to be averaging around 60 to 72 Celsius. And the fans weren't even on during this entire gameplay session. That is incredibly impressive. Alright, now let's go ahead and check out medium settings just to see how much we can really push this MacBook. And now we're at medium settings. And yeah, even with medium settings, this just feels the exact same. The game is definitely running a little more slower though, that is to be expected. We're averaging like 30 to 40 FPS right now, just wandering around in Night City. Once again, take that with a grain of salt because there's no way to check the FPS since there's no FPS counter in this game. But I mean, yeah, there isn't really much to talk about with this. It's just a little more laggier, running at around like 30 to 45 FPS. And to conclude, we're gonna skip right to Ultra. Let's really push this M1 SoC and see what we can achieve. And here are my Ultra settings. So let's go ahead and press apply and let's see how this game runs. And I'm really surprised right now. This game is still completely playable. It's running at like 20 FPS approximately, but the Ultra settings have helped a lot with the graphics, and it's still somewhat of a playable experience, this 20 FPS gameplay. I definitely do not recommend this though. I recommend you just stick with the medium to high settings. This game looks amazing and still runs amazing on the M1 SoC at Ultra settings. Alright, now that we're driving around in the city, the M1 SoC is definitely struggling. We're literally at like 15 FPS right now, approximately again. But like, it's a bit slow and there's also a bit of input lag with this. But man, you can definitely tell they've optimized this game as much as possible for macOS. Because like, I mean, the fact that we can play at Ultra settings, even in this car right now, just driving around the city in like really intensive areas is pretty good, it's pretty decent. And just keep in mind, we're on the M1 MacBook Pro. This is a laptop from nearly 5 years ago. So just imagine how well this would run on an M4 Ultra chip, once that actually releases. The Xbox controller we're using right now, the Xbox Series S controller that I've got here, it just makes movement easier in this game since the haptic trackpad isn't really the greatest when it comes to shooter games like these. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're going to consider playing Cyberpunk on a MacBook, definitely consider getting a controller just to make the game a little more playable. And that's pretty much it for this gameplay video. If you've got an Apple Silicon Mac with 16GB of RAM running Sonoma, you're ready for Cyberpunk 2077 on macOS. It's a proper native release and it actually takes advantage of Apple's hardware. I hope to see more games implement Metal in the future and hopefully Mac gaming becomes a real thing. If you liked what you saw, then definitely consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Also, please make sure to join the Discord server. We're really close to 100 members. I'll see you guys in my next video.